G'day, ZiggyD here with another Path of Exile guide. In today's video I'm going to be covering something that I've had it requested a few times, and that's how I go about managing my inventory and stash. So this is interesting because I like to think about when I'm coming up with guide ideas to make what would I actually really want to see, and often it's weird sort of things like that, things that we do every day in the game. But we want to know an easier way to do it and things like that. So, stash and inventory management is one of those things. So I'm pretty glad people have requested this. Now, we'll start off with the inventory and just go over a few basic ideas about this. Now, the first thing is that gear comes in different sizes, essentially. So we can go ahead and look at, we've got this one here, and we've got ones that come down one size larger than that. And we've got, the 4 square ones, 3 square ones, and things like that. So you have to play a bit of Tetris sometimes. Now, 60% of the time, the most efficient way to arrange the single item things that you're often going to be carrying, like scrolls and quest items, and I like to carry around a few support gems and things like that that are waiting to go into gear or that I need to swap out every now and then. 60% of the time, this is the most efficient way to arrange things. However, sadly, there's no 100% of the time best efficient way to arrange stuff in your normal inventory, because if you get like a chest piece and then you get a helmet and you got to put that in there, that's far better off put there rather than having 2 helmets, top and below, and then having like space for a belt or something like that. So every now and then when you're picking up loot, you're just sort of going to have to rearrange things like that, and that's a shame, but for the most part you can leave things along the bottom row here. Now I've actually got these around the wrong way, but the best spot to have your scroll portals is right along the edge here. Some people put them up here, or some people like to arrange one row along here of all of their stuff, but I prefer just having it down in the bottom left hand corner here. And the reason for that is if you're playing and you're in an emergency, especially in hardcore mode, sometimes you need to quickly hit your inventory, use a scroll, and portal back to town so you can refresh your potions and refresh your life and things like that, so you can stay alive. So that's how I go about organizing my inventory and things like that. Now, before I move on to the stash, I'll just cover something that sometimes people don't know, especially newer players, is that the easy way to transfer stuff between your stash and inventory, and your inventory in the shop. So let's go ahead and look at the shops here. Let's go sell items, and so we want to sell this gem. You notice I can do it with one click like that rather than clicking and dragging, which is quite painful to do, frankly. That's simply control clicking. Good stuff. So that's something a lot of people tend to miss, and it's just one of those little tips that just makes life so much easier. Okay, so now onto the stash. Now you'll notice that I have a bunch of premium tabs and a heap of normal tabs. Now I'm going to go over the way I arrange things using this system, and then I'll talk about how you can adapt that to a 4-tab system if you can't afford buying the microtransactions to buy more stash tabs. In the end, it's just a convenience thing, and you can get away with 4 stash tabs, especially if you go ahead and make some alt characters to carry your gear, but I'll get onto that in a little bit later. So the first tab I use is pretty much always currency. I have a bunch of potions here, flasks here at the moment, but I'll sort those out soon and get rid of those, find somewhere else for them to live as my currency tab starts to fill up a little bit more. This isn't really specially arranged in any way, I just chuck it in there and tend to line them up in some way that makes sense. I'll probably rearrange that as I get more, because eventually you'll get a lot of things like a lot of alterations, transmutations, a lot of chromatics, a lot of link changing things and quality items and things like that. So you'll need to sort of shuffle that around every now and then, but for the most part I just control click over, and if I've got a couple ones like that, sometimes when I fill up a stack of shards I'll just chuck those in there. Pretty basic stuff. The next tab, I always have a vendor tab. So I covered in an earlier video like the recipe to get chaos orbs, where you build a full set of rares. So I always have a vendor tab where I'm building usually 3 to 4 sets of that. So what I'll do is I'll build up all the main armor pieces in a 2-handed weapon or a 1-hand shield if I happen to get a few of those, and I'll have 4 sitting there, and sometimes they'll sit there for a while, because the hardest part to get for those full rare sets is your rings and amulets. So if you've already got 4 sets sitting there, pretty much whenever you find a ring or amulet you can probably go and sell chuck it to the vendor and get a Chaos Orb. So it's good to have a couple of those going at once. Now the more tabs you have, and if you like to go crazy on buying the additional tabs there, if you have 100 tabs, then you can probably have a lot more sets going at once. But if you only have one tab, which probably a lot of you do to dedicate to this sort of thing, then 4 sets is a nice amount to go and build up. The other thing I'll put in here is Flasks. So getting those glass baubles is pretty important, and they don't drop too commonly as a normal currency drops, so it's good to just whenever you get a quality flask, also chuck that in there. So this is just my vendor recipe tab, pretty basic stuff. Now a skill tab is pretty much necessary for everyone. You want to collect a nice range of skills that you can always have the skills available you need for any ults and things like that you level. Now this kind of works out nicely, but eventually fills up with the basic level of skills, and you might want to either vendor some or try and sell some or something like that. But the way I tend to organize this is that there's 3 sort of loose types of actual active skills, and then you've got 1 row of support. So I've got, you know, my normal active skills here. Then I'll have like a sort of like a support style skill like totems and curses and things like that, and the 3rd row will be auras. So that works out pretty nicely, because then you get 4, 4, and 4. Cool stuff. Just one of those neat sort of little things I find. Then I'll usually have a trade tab. You can combine this with another tab that I'll talk about later if you only have 4 stash tabs. So that's just a tab that I have dedicated towards stuff that I'm going to trade, so I'm not moving it around and losing it all. Now I like to have an accessories tab, but you can probably combine this with something else if you want, or you can just not keep as many accessories as I do. I don't know why I keep so much. I'm kind of just a collector of those sorts of things, and I like to have a uniques tab since I paid for some fancy tabs. I have dedicated one to uniques for fun. Now for all these numbered ones I'm using here, what I'll do is I'll have number 1 equals item levels 10 and under, so anything like that. 20 and under, 30 and under, 40 under, 70 under, and then I'll probably just chuck some 80s in there if I get higher level ones than that. But basically they're just good gear if I need it. So if I find a particularly good item, I don't know why that's in there, let's get rid of that. But I don't know why that's in there either. Well, maybe I'll have to clear these out a little bit. But if I find some like decent items out of these sorts of things, like look, there's some nice claws. If I ever make a claw character that happens to die and go to softcore, which is what this is, he'll have access to some nice claws when he's around under level 30. So that's how I go ahead arranging that. Now if you only have 4 stash tabs, you can dedicate your 4th tab to keeping awesome gear. So if you find a sick weapon, you can throw it in your 4th tab and save that for an ult, or save that for later. And you know, sometimes you get attached to these awesome weapons that you find. Like I found a pretty neat sword in hardcore that I probably won't be throwing away because it was awesome. So that's how I go ahead and arrange that. Now if you only have 4 stash tabs and you can't afford to buy any more through microtransactions, then there's a pretty easy way to go ahead and get around that. So let's go to the login screen. Basically you just go ahead and create a mule character. So mule, there we go, and let's make them a witch. We create a mule character, and then basically once that logs in, all you have to do is run through Kill Hillock and run into town, and then you have a whole inventory you can throw gear in. That's good if you have like a lot of little things like skills. I think that's probably one of the best uses for mules, since they only take up 1 slot each, but you can go ahead and throw a heap of skills in an inventory without filling up your normal stash tabs. So that's a way to get around the stash tab limitations, and if you get really desperate, you can go ahead and create a second account. Chris Wilson has been asked about that in the past, and why he thinks that buying stash tabs isn't pay to win. It's because you can pretty much create another free account if you want. So I don't know if I'll go run this. I don't really need a mule, but whatever. So anyway, hopefully that's helped out some of you guys. It's kind of a weird thing to cover, but sometimes those are the sorts of little things that people find helpful. So yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.